So a lot of guys out there think a Chelsea boot is a Chelsea boot. They're all the same, right? Wrong. There are actually 3 types of Chelsea boots you're going to commonly see out there. And you want to know this because you want to make sure you wear the appropriate clothing with the particular type of boot. So the first Chelsea boot style I want to talk about is that built off a dress shoe design. You can imagine it like cars. You've got truck chassis, you have car chassis, and the difference is, the frame and everything that's built up. The same thing with dress shoes. So these right here are going to have a dress shoe build from the sole to the upper to the last that's used to the overall design. It's going to be a bit more delicate. They're going to use lighter materials. And when we look at the sole, we're going to see using a full leather sole, but it's not going to be super thick. These are not really made to be weatherproof. They're actually made to be dressed up, made to be worn with a suit. These are boots made to look good first and function as hardy outerwear second. On the flip side, we've got the more casual, rugged Chelsea boot design. This is going to be made with a heavier upper leather. The sole is usually going to be thicker and is going to have traction on it. You're also going to see the build. Here we're going to see Goodyear welts. We're going to see just a thicker overall design, even with the stitching. These are made to be, everyday wears. And right in the middle of the two, we've got the hybrid design. This type of Chelsea boot is going to take from both ends to create something unique, something that serves a particular purpose. This one right here, these are made to look good, walk around town in. They're not going to be as durable as a lot of the, tougher uppers that use more of a straight up leather. This is going to be suede. You got to be a little bit more careful with it. But the soles here are made to be walking. They're not going to have a whole lot of traction as we saw in the other one, a little bit more delicate, yet they do have a rubber mixed in with leather with a Goodyear welt. So a somewhat rugged design with a bit more style. Knowing the difference matters, gents, because these are made to be worn with casual jeans. These are made to be worn with a casual suit. Now, building off that first rule, you're going to see sometimes it's hard to distinguish between the different styles. But if you look closely, you can spot the details. Right here, notice the rounded toe. That is going to be more casual. That curved toe right in there, that is going to be for a dressier style boot. In addition, look at the difference in the toe box height, the thickness in the sole. It may not seem like much, but this is the small difference between a dress boot and a more casual boot. Now, occasionally you will see snip toes out there. They are very different than square toes, very common in boots, and you're going to see this in both casual and in the dress Chelsea boot style. The next rule to style in Chelsea boots as an adult man is to pay attention to the sole and the construction of the boot. So in general, you want to stay away from cemented, from glued shoes. I get it. Some of you guys simply find something on sale. It looks good. The problem with that is that over time they will fall apart. I do recommend going to either a Blake stitch, which you're going to see on a lot of the dress shoes because it has just simply a cleaner, elegant, and a very light design, or go with a Goodyear welt. This in general is going to be the most hardy construction and it's going to be the most water resistant. Now on a Blake stitch, you should be at the bottom of the shoe, the sole right there. You should be able to see stitching going through the actual sole. Now, when you look on top, you're not going to see any stitching on the side. Instead, they do the stitching on the inside of the shoe. A Goodyear welt, on the other hand, will have the stitching at the bottom as well, but you should be able to see stitching on the outside. And again, a lot of dress shoe designers don't like this look, so that's why they go with the Blake stitch design. That being said, if you want something that's more durable, the Goodyear welt is where it's at. Now, what about leather soles and traction? I'll be honest, you're not going to get much traction with leather soles, even after they've been worn in. Yeah, you can get a little bit of rubber right here on the heel, but if you want traction, you want to make sure you go for a type of boot that either has a hybrid design, which you can see this one right here has both leather and rubber, a little bit of the best of both worlds, or you can go with a straight up rubber sole. Now, if you really want traction, you're going to be leaning towards the more casual style. And as you can see right here, this one right here, tons of grooves, plenty of traction, but again, this is not something you would want to wear with a suit unless it is really bad weather outside. In that case, you can wear whatever you want. All that being said, keep it simple. That's rule number 3. So when you're going out there and you're grabbing your first pair, maybe your 4th pair of Chelsea boots, there's nothing wrong with keeping it simple and repeating a color that's already in your wardrobe. If all your dress shoes are black, if most of your shoes are brown, then gravitate towards that color because you're really just looking to bring in a different style that's going to give you more opportunity to wear it in different situations. You don't really have to change up and go with anything eclectic. You don't have to go with the style that you're not used to wearing. I know for for me, I would rather go with something simple, something, yeah, that's not going to be flashy, but I know I'm going to wear and I'm going to get miles out of. That being said, let's go to rule number 4, which is to double down. Once you find that you've actually got a pair of Chelseas, you're rotating them in your wardrobe, there's nothing wrong with having a second pair of Chelseas that are a little bit different in style. Maybe going with a suede, maybe going with a little bit of traction on the bottom, something that you can wear in inclement weather. Or maybe you want something a little bit flashier, something with the buckles on it, something in a color that you don't have a whole lot of shoes in, but you've been wanting to try. The point being is once you start wearing Chelseas, there's nothing wrong with having a couple to maybe even a few in your wardrobe. Rule number 5 to styling Chelsea boots as an adult man: buy the best that you can afford. If anything is the $100, sub-$100 range, most likely it is glued. It's not using a good quality upper material. These are shoes which are probably not going to last. In the $200 to $300 range, you're going to find a number of online brands that do a very good job of actually delivering good quality. This video is not sponsored by Thursday Boots, but I talk about them all the time. Another great company is Ace Marks. You can also, just simply look around. You'll find some decent options out there. Once you go past $300 to $400, now you're getting into, I think, the rarefied area where you should expect not only great design, but also great quality. And I know a lot of you guys out there watching this video have your favorite boot company, especially when it comes to Chelsea's. Guys, I would love to hear from you down in the comments. What is your favorite boot company? Who are you buying your Chelsea boots from? Now, once you go past $500, usually what you're paying for is either a fashion label or you're paying for individual workmanship because you're buying some, high-end British or Italian brand. And I get it. If you are into shoes, then go for it. But I think for the vast majority of people, you should be able to find something in the $200 to $300 range, which is going to suit your needs and going to last you for years if, with rule number 6, you take care of it. As you can see right here, these boots have cracked. Once the leather cracks, pretty much nothing you can do about it. You're going to need to get a new pair of boots. And sad to say, those were my Chelsea boots that cracked right there. I went through a Wisconsin winter and I did not condition them. I did not dry them out properly. I treated them like crap. And by the end of the season, I was paying for it because I had to get a new pair of boots. Understand that most Chelsea boots are going to use a little bit of a thinner leather, especially if they're a dress shoe type of design. Now, the more rugged, heavier designs you can be a bit rougher with, but I still think that anything that you're spending good money on, and that's why I do like to see a man put a little bit of his skin in the game and get a great pair of boots that he spends good money on, because you're going to be more likely to clean them off after every wear. Get rid of the salt, use a little bit of vinegar, go on there, and then you want to condition them, you want to clean them, you want to polish. Why do people polish shoes? Yes, it makes them look better, it gives them a bit of shine, but it also provides a layer of wax on the shoe that protects it from the elements. Now, what about suede? Well, if you're familiar with the different types of leather out there, you know that suede is made from the corium. And the corium is going to be one of the lighter, looser, threaded, basically types of leather that will invite and take in moisture. So if you are going to go with suede Chelseas or any type of suede shoe, make sure that it's a weather-resistant suede. If you're not sure, or if you buy something and it's more of a delicate build, then you can actually treat it. And I would recommend pretty much after every dozen wears going in and treating your suede shoes with a spray. There's a silicone out there. You can find them online, relatively inexpensive. You're going to use pretty much the entire can on your pair, and this is going to go over. It's not going to, you test a small spot. You want to make sure it doesn't discolor the suede, but this right here is going to protect your shoes from the elements and make sure that they last for multiple seasons. And with all that being said, rule number 7 to styling Chelsea boots as an adult man: guys, wear them. Yes, you are occasionally, this pair right here, I've got a little bit of discoloration on the suede, but you know what? I'm wearing them. I love them. And here's the thing with any type of clothing, eventually it is going to fall apart. So don't be afraid to actually wear these. Find a way to dress up a little bit. Wear these with a casual suit or dress them down with jeans. But if you are going to spend money on Chelsea boots, make sure that you get your money's worth out of them. Now, gents, if you're watching this video, you're probably the kind of guy that wants to step up his style. But where are you at? What's your style score? Guys, I got you covered over at Real Men Real Style. Down in the description of today's video, I'm going to link over to my website. This is a free quiz that you can take and you can actually get your style score. And we'll give you a breakout of how you can improve your style, how you can build up your confidence, leveraging the science of style. That's what I talk about here. We use studies, we use our experience, my research. I owned a clothier and I designed thousands of suits. This is something I love to be able to help men. So we've got free ebooks over at Real Men Real Style. We've got infographics expert starting off and figuring out what your style score is. Absolutely free. So go check it out, guys. Again, linking to it down in the description of today's video. So now let's talk a little bit about the history of the Chelsea boot. Because when you buy something, you want to make sure it's going to be in style, right? Well, don't worry. For over 170 years, since the 1850s, men and women have been wearing Chelsea boots. In fact, we have to thank Queen Victoria. She was the one that made the Chelsea boot popular. So it did start off as a women's boot, but nowadays men have taken it on. The distinctive feature is going to be the stretch. And that is the big separation. What separates the Chelsea boots from all the different options out there is we don't have an ankle strap. We don't have a zipper. We don't have a buckle on this. Instead, it slips on and off, and it's for ease of comfort. Now, some people talk about how this boot started off as a riding boot. That's actually not the case. It's always been a walking boot. It's always been something. Now, the heel right here kind of infers that it used to be used as a riding boot, but most boots we see that. This right here just simply took the style, the design of the day, and it made it so it was a very comfortable, easy slip on, easy slip off walking shoe, which for about the first 100 years of its life was pretty much regulated to just that. But then something interesting happened in the 1950s. In the 1950s, in particular, King's Road in West London, we started seeing a lot of intellectuals get together. We're talking playwrights, we're talking musicians, and it seemed that a lot of them started wearing what was known at the time as the paddock boot. It became known as the Chelsea boot, though, because this Chelsea set, as they were known, all of these young people that were getting together, they just started to favor it, and they became a fashion trend. In the 1960s, these same boots were outfitted with what's known as a Cuban heel, and that's going to be much longer than this, about twice to three times, almost 3 inches in length. And that Cuban heel, all of a sudden, artists started loving this. In the 1960s, one of probably the most popular band that's ever existed, the Beatles, they fell in love with this Chelsea boot, and they helped it take its rise to stardom. Now, legend has it that in 1961, both John Lennon and Paul McCartney picked up their first pair of Chelsea boots, again, at the time known, I think, as Baba boots. And then later, Ringo and George both picked up a pair as well. And you see so many photos. And this became the mod style, with the tailored suit, with these Chelsea boots, and with that hairstyle. It became huge. In fact, the Rolling Stones even started wearing these type of boots, and it just became a huge fashion trend. For a while, they were actually known as the Beatle boots. And for those of you guys that are Star Wars fans, a little known fact, but the stormtroopers in the original Star Wars, guess what? They were wearing white Chelsea boots. Yes. Now, for me personally, I picked up my first pair of Chelsea boots over 20 years ago, and I fell in love with them because of the simplicity, of the ease of slipping them on and off, of simply being able to dress them up, dress them down. It was the versatility. I'm a traveler, so it's something that I love, not having to lace or unbuckle a shoe when I'm going through security. And those were the things that really sold me on the boot, and in my opinion, are the reason that this boot has become so endearing to so many men of style. Now let's cover how to wear your Chelsea boots. So if you want the dressiest form of Chelsea boot, you're going to go with the dress shoe design. You're going to go with a simple black. And this is the classic color, what we see the Beatles wearing a suit with, the Rolling Stones, a number of artists, musicians. Nowadays, it is pretty classic conservative. I think that any guy can pull this off, even in a boardroom setting in New York City, if you so choose. Yes, technically, I know it's not a Balmoral Oxford, but simplicity, ease of look. The key here, though, is that you have the design, you have the silhouette, you don't have anything overly large, because sometimes you can buy a boot and you think that it looks like a dress boot, but when you under scrutiny, you can clearly see that the toe box is either too clumsy looking, or the sole maybe is a little bit too casual. This right here would be on the border because of the rubber of the overall. This is more of a hybrid design. This Chelsea boot right here, even though it's not in black, is more of a dress shoe design. I can just feel it. I can see the small differences. Really, it comes down to the sole. Yes, they're using a Blake stitch, a little bit lighter, a little bit thinner, but it is a full-on leather sole, and it's a small difference, but something, again, if you want to really make sure you're correct when you're wearing it with, let's say, a blue navy suit or charcoal gray, this would probably be the one I would go with, even, in this color right here. Now, with this design right here, this is the hybrid. This falls in between, and it's got a rubber sole, but still a dress shoe type of design. Overall, a very sleek design. It's got the classic Chelsea look, except for the color right here, which for a lot of people, this is a more modern interpretation. It's become really popular, especially, wearing it with contrast denim, maybe a little bit mid to light, or even dark denim. It right there is going to provide the contrast. And that's really what these shoes are doing. They are going to be what are going to grab attention. Could you actually wear this with a suit? I think you could. A casual suit, but definitely not, you wouldn't want to dress it up with a navy unless you've got the, confidence, unless you own the company and you just like the combination. I do like a medium brown with navy. I think it looks really good blue. But these right here, again, they aren't going to be as dressy as a solid dark color. But if you've got the confidence, if you've got the ability, yeah, go ahead and pull them off with pretty much whatever you like, except for ultra casual denim. And that's where these boots fall in because of the clunkier, heavier design. Now, these are going to be more durable. Here, I get a snowstorm in Wisconsin, I would be wearing a pair like this because the traction, first and foremost, is going to ensure I don't fall on my ass when I'm out walking. They're going to, just simply make sure I stay up on my feet, and the heavier use of the leather. This leather right here, maybe in this video it looks really clean and elegant. I'd say when you get up close, you see a little bit of a pebbled design, and it's thicker, heavier. And that's great because it's going to be more resistant to water damage or any type of water like that. That being said, I still treat all of my shoes. I condition them, especially if they get really wet when I'm going through sleet or snow. But overall, the design right here, and this really doesn't take too much of a shine, although I could shine it up if I really want. But this design right here is perfect with denim. I could even wear this with gray flannels, maybe a sweater, but I would not be dressing these up with a suit. Now, really quick, some FAQs. What is going to be the most versatile color? I think that black for most men is going to be the best place to start. That being said, I love oxblood. And if you already are wearing black, oxblood is a great, great color, maroon, that fits right in with so many different black designs, and it just adds a little bit of pop to it. Dark brown is nice and is probably, the majority of my shoes are medium to dark brown, but I do acknowledge that when it comes to Chelsea's, I usually wear them when I'm dressing something up or I'm wearing really ultra casual clothing. So for me in those situations, the black for the dress shoe design, the dark brown or the medium brown for whenever I want something more casual. Now, would I recommend a pair of black Chelsea's to be able to wear with black tie? Again, if it's the right style, design, it has a leather sole, it is a dress shoe type of chassis right there, then I would think that there's nothing wrong with this. I know some people are classic, style guys, and they're gonna say, no, you need to be wearing slippers or Balmoral Oxfords or patent leather shoes. I get that. But practically speaking, I can see why some guys would wear Chelsea's, especially maybe if you want, even with a rubber sole, if you want a little bit of grip, it's inclement weather, you're there for some type of awards ceremony, a charity get together. I would actually, I think they look fine. Now, what about wingtips? What about cap toes? What about, type of broguing in the Chelsea boot? I think this is perfectly fine, but you have to understand this does make it more casual. Any type of broguing makes a shoe more casual. That being said, they can look really nice, especially a medallion right there on the toe. And when done correctly, not overdone, I do think that you can even get away wearing something like this with a suit. What about a contrast elastic? Does that make the boot more casual? Yes, it does. And the elastic, you want to make sure that they're using a good quality. Most manufacturers, especially all the ones, I've talked about in my videos over the years, they are using a good quality elastic. I've never had one break down, but it is something to think about the long term, if you're going to have a boot for 20, 30 years. But in general, I'd have to say, if you want something that's going to be dressier, you do not want to go with a contrast in the elastic. All right, Jen, so what video to watch next? How about why the ladies love a man in boots? Seriously, I improved this video. I made it even better. If you ever watch this one, you need to check it out, especially if you want to attract the ladies. Guys, I go into the science, I go into the details right here. Yeah, click on it. It's a good one. Seriously.